I'm William Schabas. I'm a professor of public international law at Middlesex University in London, and I also teach at Sciences Po in Paris, at the Graduate Institute in Geneva, and at the University of Leiden in the Netherlands. My course at the Hague Academy is on the relationships between international criminal law and other branches of international law. So I divide this into different segments and look at the general rules of public international law and how they are applied and dealt with under international criminal law, and then the relationships with international human rights law, the law of armed conflict or international humanitarian law, and international refugee law. The course is relevant today because we're dealing with a very relatively new area of public international law. It's true that international criminal law can be traced back about a century, but it's really been developed and exploded in its impact since the 1990s. And there are areas of its interaction with other areas of law which were not thought out. International law, of course, is a system that does not develop as a coherent system with a coherent body of legislation, but we have rather different areas that develop from different sources. And so the relationships between them are not addressed in a logical way, and they have to be understood and they develop. So international criminal law is influencing the development of the law of armed conflict, for example. It's having an influence on human rights law, just as it's influenced in the other direction by those areas of law. Well, one area that I think is particularly interesting and that I discuss in the course is the challenge that results from the interaction between international criminal law and refugee law. Refugee protection is basically founded on the idea that we try to be as generous as possible in protecting people who are fleeing from conflict and persecution. But international criminal law, on the other hand, is calling for an end to impunity, and that bumps into refugee law because within the refugee communities are people who may be charged with international crimes. And this is an area where the lawyers fighting in both areas, the lawyers who are advocating those different bodies of law, are in conflict. So you have people without experience in armed conflict making rulings about the scope of what's permissible in an armed conflict and what's impermissible in an armed conflict. And this is a fascinating area because actually what it's doing is making international humanitarian law more humanitarian.